Hi, welcome to my lab! Today I want to make a fantasy creature. And here is my victim, Rochelle Goyle.
Hello there.
Her first step to make over is to bring her to my Murin spa where each doll is treated like a queen. Here you can see our standard service including cutting all hair, decapitation, brain extraction, and acetone face mask. We also offer special treatment like ears correction. Murin Spa, everything for dolls who wants a new start. To prepare her for a reroot, I covered holes in her head with medical tape and painted her scalp with blue paint mixed with Liquitex matte medium. I found that it makes paint chip less by making it more flexible. However, it works only for vinyl head, not plastic body or joints. Next, I took my rerooting tool and root her with this beautiful Oasis Blue Saran hair from restoredoll.com. I quickly ran out of blue mix, so I added this coral red mix from the same company. It looks great so far. To keep it like this, I squeezed a generous amount of Gorilla Glue to the neck hole and let it dry for a few days. When glue dried, I put her head back to the body and sprayed it with DuraClear Ultra Matte Varnish diluted with water. I started from contouring her face and ears with blue soft pastels. In general, I am going for her with blue and pink, just like I used for her hair. I am feeling comfy with monochromatic palette and I am nervous when adding new colors. I still have PTSD after Rainbow Pastel Gersoli. It looks like vomit. I began my adventure with her on December, and then I wanted to make a winter fantasy creature. Yes, I know that I am outdated, but winter is coming to the southern hemisphere. But I live on north, so there is no excuse for me. Anyways, I wanted her to look very frozen and chilly, so I went very heavy on her blush, mostly on face, ears and hands. These are areas which cools down very quickly, so blood vessels widens to keep them warm. On the next layer, I started to sketch her face with watercolor pencils, and yes, again you see it through my glasses. I hope that my next doll will have better shoot. I give her half-closed eyes, not so in my style, but I wanted to try. I was mostly following the mold, but it turned out that Rochelle is not my favorite one because of her sculpted tear ducts. I wanted her to sparkle like a snow, so I deepened all blushing with few layers of pink and blue Mica powders. Time for paint! As always, I started from blocking her eyes with few coats of white acrylic paint. Then I moved to the brows and lips. I like to give my fantasy creatures non-human features, so I painted her blue waterline. Then I started to work on her pink eyes. Painting face up with acrylics can be scary since they are more difficult to erase, but when you are fast enough, you can wipe off your mistake with tissue or water when the paint is still wet. Inspired by Edelon Abbey revamp, I decided to make her open smile. When it comes to her lips, I was heavily inspired by Titera dolls on Instagram, who makes this strong highlight on the upper lip. My attempt is not that pretty, but I still don't regret that I tried. At first I gave her dark blue eyelashes, but off camera I changed them to white for more snowy look. Usually I prefer false lashes because these which I am painting are terrible, but I don't have white falsies. I painted also marks with silver paint on her cheeks and face up is done. Time for outfit. This pink fabric which fits my logo will be my main player. Off camera I cut from it huge circle and protected corners with fray check. Next, again I took fray check and started to make random dots on the corners of the fabric. Soon you will see why. First I used needle head, but then I switched to the bottle because it was less annoying. When glue dried, I dunked the bottom of material in acrylic paint diluted in water and hung it up. I quickly saw that paint is not coming up very fast, so I took paintbrush and applied paint to the fabric manually. To make soft gradient, I sprayed it with water. Here you see moment when I realized that I'm spraying water also on my new laptop. Good job, me! When I finished, I left it dry overnight. There are good and bad news after drying. Good news is that fray check trick worked and gave me these gorgeous spots, and this is exactly what I wanted. Bad news is that paint didn't reach all corners of the fabric. Hanging it up wasn't the best idea. I never did a tie-dye and I suck in physics, so I was surprised that liquid didn't reach all corners. But this is nothing which cannot be fixed. I laid down the fabric on my old thumbnails sheet, does anybody remember this? And stained it using brush. I am going for a very organic, not ideal gradient, so I don't care that fabric lies uneven. After drying, it looks like this. Neat! I wanted to use this fabric as her skirt, and since I don't have any specific plan for this doll except of loose concept, as usual I am no plan and my way girl.
No think, just do!
I was doing few tries and ended up with pinning it to the side of white bodies which I prepared off camera. Important is to sew it not so tightly, so it will be able to snook through doll's butt while dressing her up. Basic shape of dress is ready, so now it's time for decoration. I wanted to use these beads for so long and finally I have got chance. I was adding more and more beads, and then...
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Yes, it started to getting worse and worse. This white bodice is so eye-catching, and to hide it up, I will have to cover it up with beads, and it will look like a cheap prom dress. It has to go. To fix problem with outfit, I decided to do pink bodies matching to the skirt. I corrected fit on the back and added bead closure on the front. and already it looks better. I liked beads and chains, so I added them off camera. But I still need more. To give her some more sparkle, I glued to the skirt these tiny rhinestones. So pretty, looks like night sky. Time for shoes and sleeves. For her shoes I used Moonlight Jewel tights pattern and cut them from the same fabric as her bodice, and sleeves are from the same material as her skirt. Off camera I stained them like skirts and everything matches. To change these socks into shoes, I prepared soils from Worbla thermoplastic and glued them to the socks with hot glue. I smoothed the transition between Worbla and fabric by covering it with puffy paint. Next, I heat up Worbla leftovers and used them to make heels and painted everything with blue paint. The last accessory which I wanted to give her is icy mask. First, I sketched the shape on the paper and then I used it for scaffolds for bending the wire. As you can see, it is uneven. I am not following even my own rules. Next, I put paper tape to one side and covered it with UV resin. After hardening, I took off the tape and add more UV resin to cover the blurry part. And that's it, looks nice. These wires are so thick, so off camera I made another mask the same way using thinner jewelry wires. I secured the pin with more UV resin to be able to put mask on her face. I colored mask with some blue, white and mica powders.
What?
After sealing it with glossy varnish, I got this. And this is not exactly what I had in my mind. I thought that it will be more see-through, but it turned out to be more opaque. Yeah, she kinda looks cool. But this is not what I wanted.
Ouch.
I put effort to this piece, so I didn't want it to just throw it away. But it can be her hairpin. After some decoration, it is ready to go. There is still a hole in her face after mask pin, so to cover it up, I glued the rhinestone. They make her face more interesting. Also, I glued silver foil to her face, which looks really cool. We have got all pieces and now it's time for the final assembly. It was a long journey, but I am glad that I can show you this doll. Some of you may be disappointed that I didn't make her hairdo on camera, but it was really hard to film this bright get-on. I hope that photos are enough this time. It was a complicated project, but I enjoyed it a lot, even if this whole fantasy creature theme doesn't show too much. But what do you think about her? Do you like her? And this is all for today. Have a great day. Bye!